quite sure how your lawyers managed to do this, but I wish you good luck, sir.
Those words from the judge only hit harder once you see the footage yourself. Bortlen already flipped. He allegedly released over 200 recordings of YNW Melly, clips that prosecutors claim expose threats, intimidation, and direct violations of court rules. The word on the street is Melly may never walk free again. That snitching flipped the script on everything. The courtroom saga around YNW Melly's double murder trial has turned into one of the wildest and most dissected legal dramas in hip-hop history. Every sighting of Jamel Demons, better known as YNW Melly, sparks new debates, conspiracies, and headlines. But when reports broke that his co-defendant, Bortlen Henry, better known as YNW Bortlen, allegedly leaked over 200 separate clips of Melly inside court, the entire situation jumped to a whole new level. Those leaked videos, according to viral posts and online buzz, show moments where Melly seems to issue direct threats toward Bortlen while standing before the court. The weight of these claims forces people to re-examine not only Melly's conduct but also the survival instincts of his one-time right-hand man, the same dude prosecutors said helped cover up a gruesome double murder. At the root of it all lies the original shooting on October 26, 2018, in Miramar, Florida. Prosecutors say Melly executed his two friends, Christopher Thomas Jr., YNW Juve, and Anthony Williams, YNW Sackchaser, while they sat in a grey Jeep driven by Bortlen. In court, the state made their stance clear. This wasn't a tragic misunderstanding, it was a calculated execution disguised as a drive-by to fool investigators. The prosecutor's opening statement made it plain, declaring,
"On October 26th of 2018, this defendant shot and killed two of his friends. He killed Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams."
The state's theory claims Bortlen drove the bodies to Memorial Hospital, spinning a story that they were victims of a drive-by shooting. But when detectives searched Miramar Parkway, they didn't find a single shell casing, no shattered glass, and zero ballistic traces to back up the story. The evidence told a different tale. The scene had been staged. And then came one of the most outrageous twists in the entire YNW Melly double murder case. On September 9, 2025, just hours before his own trial was set to begin, YNW Bortlen took a plea deal. That move felt like betrayal on a whole new level, the kind of snake behavior that had the whole hood watching in disbelief for over 6 years. And it might just bury his day one homie YNW Melly for good.
So I had set this afternoon for the deadline as to whether or not Mr. Henry wanted to accept the state's offer or not.
For real, that moment hit deep. Cortland Malik Henry, aka YNW Bortlen, was staring down a lifetime behind bars. Before flipping, he was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of accessory after the fact, witness tampering in a capital felony, running gang operations, conspiracy to tamper, and unlawful use of a two-way communication device. The judge didn't sugarcoat anything. He made it crystal clear what kind of time Bortlen was facing.
So, sir, again, before the agreement you made with the state, before the deal you made with the state, your maximum exposure here was life in Florida State Prison.
Then came the shocker. Prosecutors handed Bortlen a lifeline, dropped the murder charges if he pled no contest to accessory after the fact and witness tampering. That deal was golden for someone who was otherwise never getting out. It showed the state had been playing chess while Bortlen and Melly were stuck playing checkers. Under the agreement, Bortlen received a 10-year sentence, with roughly 4.5 years of time already served, followed by 6 years of probation. That means he could be walking free by around January 2032, instead of rotting behind bars forever. But here's where it gets dangerous for Melly. That plea deal came with one serious catch, the proffer clause. This isn't just a basic confession, it's a sworn statement forcing Bortlen to spill every last detail about what really went down on October 26, 2018. The night Christopher YNW Juve Thomas Jr. and Anthony YNW Sackchaser Williams were shot and killed.
Sir, lastly, and I want to make it very clear on the record, and it's unrelated to this negotiated change of plea, I guess at some point after the fact, the state wants to take a proffer from you or have a discussion with you, ask you some questions about whatever that may be. What I want you to understand, sir, is I guess that's part of this negotiated resolution, but your answers to any of those questions, whatever they might be, have no bearing on me and have no bearing on this negotiated resolution. In other words, the deal you've negotiated is the deal you've negotiated, and that's the ballgame.
The judge's remarks said it all. While he clarified that this tell-all session wouldn't mess up Bortlen's plea deal, the fact that it's even required exposes what the feds are really after. Bortlen's attorney keeps insisting there's no obligation for him to testify against Melly, but that proffer session might reveal key details that prosecutors have been missing all along. From the start, the forensic evidence in this case has been painting a dark and damning picture.
So let me set the scene for you at the recording studio, because there's actually 8 young men there. You're going to hear they arrived at the recording studio, not much was getting done. They were tired. They left at 3:19, and they got into 2 vehicles. So first vehicle is a red Mitsubishi SUV. In that red Mitsubishi SUV, 4 individuals get into it. Travion Glass, Dontavius Withers, Jacoby Mills, and Adrian Davis. They are in the red Mitsubishi. In the gray Jeep, you have the driver, Bortlen Henry, rear driver's side passenger, Jamel Demmons, Anthony Williams in the front seat, and Cortland Henry again, the driver, Christopher Thomas in the rear.
Ballistics testing revealed that the bullets entered the victims' heads from close range, with angles matching shots fired inside the vehicle, not from some drive-by outside. Even more suspicious, investigators recovered shell casings inside the car, including one tucked inside a white plastic bag, a clear sign someone tried to hide the evidence. But the most devastating blow came from the digital trail. Cell phone and GPS data showed all 4 phones moved together that night, completely blowing apart Melly's story that he was dropped off before the murders went down.
But then what you're going to see is the cell phone evidence. The digital leash. The item that is carried around in everyone's pocket, in everyone's car, you use on a daily basis. Because you're going to see, as Jamel Demmons leaves that recording studio, he's got his phone in his hand, and he's playing on his phone. You're going to see on that phone information that Anthony Williams had his phone with him. Not only do they have the same make and model of cell phone, they are on the exact same cell phone plan. They're using the same service, the same cell towers, everything like that. So you can compare the information from those 2 cell phones and see how they track together.
To make it worse, Melly reportedly sent a direct message on Instagram just hours after the shooting, replying to someone who asked if he was okay with, "I did that." Now that Bortlen's taken the plea deal, prosecutors have what they always wanted, confirmation from the only other man still alive from that night. By pleading no contest to accessory after the fact, Bortlen is essentially admitting that a double murder occurred and that he played a part in covering it up.
The other interesting thing the medical examiner's office is going to tell you is that when the drive-by was staged at 4:02 a.m., the victims were already dead.
This isn't just about avoiding a trial, it's about the prosecution finally having someone from inside the car back up their entire version of events. And the timing couldn't be more critical. Bortlen's own trial was set to begin the very next day, September 10th, 2025. The judge made it clear, this was the final hour, and every move from here on out would change everything.
If you want to have a trial, the trial starts tomorrow. If you want to accept the deal, you can accept the deal today. But there's not going to be any buyer's remorse, in other words, because I've given you plenty of time to think about this.
The last-minute nature of this plea deal makes one thing obvious. Bortlen's legal team finally realized just how stacked the evidence was against him and saw that going to trial meant multiple life sentences, no question. Earlier, prosecutors had offered him deals, one reportedly for 16 years, but those expired long ago. The irony is, the final agreement he took turned out to be even better, suggesting that the state was desperate to lock in his cooperation before Melly's retrial kicked off. The emotional weight of this betrayal can't be overstated. Melly and Bortlen weren't just friends, they were brothers from Gifford, Florida, who built the YNW movement together. They came up dreaming of escaping the streets through their music. For Bortlen to choose his own freedom over loyalty to his day one homie hit the entire culture like a gut punch, the ultimate violation of the no-snitching code that's sacred in hip-hop. Even the judge sounded stunned, saying, "Mr. Henry, I'm not quite sure how your lawyers pulled this off, but good luck, sir." That reaction alone showed how unexpectedly sweet of a deal Bortlen's team managed to cut.
Henry, I'm not quite sure how your lawyers managed to do this, but I wish you good luck, sir.
That if they did it, they would have been found guilty a long time ago.
All of it points to one thing. Prosecutors were willing to bend heavy to secure what they see as crucial cooperation for their case against Melly. This plea deal isn't just one man catching a break. It's a strategic win for the state after more than 6 years of building evidence. It could be the final puzzle piece that helps them lock in a conviction in one of hip-hop's most infamous trials. But the real bombshell isn't just Bortlen's admission. It's what comes after. That proffer clause baked into his plea might end up being the wrecking ball for Melly's defense. Many casual onlookers don't grasp how dangerous it is. A proffer, or queen for a day session, means the defendant gives sworn testimony under limited immunity, spilling what they know about the crime. Bortlen now has to give his detailed version of what went down during the October 2018 shootings. His lawyers might insist he won't testify against Melly, but the truth is, this setup could still destroy Melly's defense strategy from the inside out. Detective reports and forensic testimony from Melly's first trial already painted a chilling picture of a calculated cover-up. Prosecutors claim that after Melly allegedly shot Sackchaser and Juve inside the Jeep, he and Bortlen drove to a remote area near the Everglades and staged a fake drive-by. They supposedly fired extra rounds into the car from outside to make it look like an ambush before driving the bodies around and eventually pulling up to the hospital. Now, under the proffer terms, Bortlen has to give a sworn account of these events. This goes far beyond just admitting he helped after the fact. It means putting every detail on record that could fill the holes in the state's timeline. Even if he never directly names Melly as the triggerman, his testimony about the cover-up could still reinforce the prosecution's entire theory. The strategy behind this becomes crystal clear when you look at Melly's original defense. His lawyers claimed he wasn't even in the Jeep when the shooting happened, arguing he'd been dropped off earlier. That not-in-the-car defense was their golden ticket, and if Bortlen's statement undercuts it, Melly's entire case could collapse. However, Bortlen's proffer could officially lock in proof that Melly was inside the car and took part in the cover-up afterward. The forensic data already shatters the drive-by story. Crime scene experts found every single shell casing inside the vehicle, with bullet paths showing shots fired from the rear left seat, the exact spot Melly was seen sitting in, according to surveillance footage from the recording studio earlier that night. While forensic evidence can be debated or reinterpreted in court, a sworn statement from the only other survivor is a whole different level of credibility. It's nearly impossible to refute. That kind of testimony could wreck several pillars of Melly's defense. First, it would cement the timeline. GPS and phone data already tracked all four men's movements that night, but some details, like the exact order of events, were still unclear. Bortlen's account would fill in every minute, tightening the narrative and leaving little room for the defense to twist the timeline or create confusion. Second, it could finally solve the question of why. One of the biggest weaknesses in the prosecution's argument has always been motive. Why would Melly turn on his Day One brothers? While rumors have circulated about money issues, jealousy, or control over the YNW brand, no one has given solid testimony explaining what actually sparked the violence. Bortlen's proffer could change that by revealing exactly what tensions, arguments, or threats went down before shots were fired. And most damaging of all, it could completely dismantle Melly's entire defense theory. If Bortlen confirms that Melly was in the car when the murders happened, and later helped stage the scene, the whole "he wasn't there" claim collapses. At that point, Melly's lawyers will have to pivot from proving innocence to simply limiting the damage, maybe pushing for reduced charges or arguing mental state. The psychological impact of this betrayal is massive too. Right after Bortlen's plea, Melly filed for new lawyers, citing irreconcilable differences, a clear sign that his entire defense strategy just got flipped upside down. When your closest friend turns and starts cooperating with prosecutors, that's more than a legal loss, it's a message about how strong the case against you really is. And beyond the courtroom, the cultural backlash hits hard. In hip-hop, the no-snitching code runs deep, and Bortlen's choice, even if his cooperation is limited, breaks that unspoken rule. His attorneys might keep saying he won't testify against Melly, but just agreeing to a proffer has already earned him the label of rat in the streets and among fans who once viewed him as loyal to the core.
It's certainly a jump to conclusion, but I understand why people may think that. What often happens is prior to any during plea negotiations and prior to any plea being entered by a defendant, there are many conversations that are going on.
Legal analyst Sapper Robinson-Furrer points out a critical truth that most people overlook. Plea deals like this almost never happen in a vacuum. It's highly likely that Melly's and Bortlen's legal teams were in communication before the agreement was finalized, possibly even coordinating what Bortlen would and wouldn't disclose in his proffer. That makes this look less like a sudden betrayal and more like a calculated strategic move. The impact on Melly's defense is massive. With Bortlen's cooperation officially secured, prosecutors now possess an insider's version of everything that happened on October 26, 2018. Even if Bortlen never takes the stand, and his lawyers insist he won't, his proffer gives the state something even more powerful, a full blueprint for how to structure their case. The prosecution already had the science, forensic evidence proving the shooting occurred inside the car, digital tracking data placing all four men together, and circumstantial clues suggesting a staged crime scene. What they didn't have was a first-hand story tying it all together. Bortlen's proffer fills that missing piece, transforming a pile of evidence into a persuasive human narrative that jurors can easily follow. The victims' families have wasted no time responding to the development. Their attorneys are already pushing to depose Bortlen for upcoming civil wrongful death suits, a move that forces him to give sworn, detailed testimony. Any inconsistencies between his civil deposition and his criminal proffer could open him up to perjury charges and even void his deal, meaning he'd lose his reduced sentence. Meanwhile, prosecutors have nearly 2 full years, with Melly's retrial now set for January 2027, to weave Bortlen's statements into their entire strategy. This isn't just about adding another piece of evidence. It's about reshaping the entire case from the ground up. Now they can build their opening arguments and witness questioning around the inside story provided by someone who was in the car that night. What makes the situation even darker for Melly is Florida's updated death penalty law. The state no longer needs a unanimous jury to recommend execution. Only 8 out of 12 jurors must agree. That shift, paired with Bortlen's cooperation, drastically raises the stakes for the retrial. Beyond the legal fallout, the emotional damage to Melly is brutal. After spending more than 6 years behind bars with limited contact from friends and family, and with his mother publicly saying she's barely been allowed to speak to him, finding out his closest friend flipped sides has to be soul-crushing. It's not just a legal setback, it's a personal collapse that could shake his will to fight entirely.
6.5 years, and with no phone calls, no visits. They say his mama said she ain't seen him since, like since they been in there, damn near. She ain't seen him. She said she talked to him on the phone a couple of times, but they took all his phone privileges.
We have reached the end of this video. Thanks for watching. To get hit with more of such content, be sure to click on the card showing on the screen.